Hello guys, welcome to the fiction series. Today we are gonna see, what if Naruto got harem with Annabeth, Thalia and Rachel. Huge shout out to WINDSTORM16 for this story. If you want more awesome fan fiction like this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. So without wasting any time, let's get into the video. Who am I? You sure you want to know? The story of my life is not for the faint of heart. If somebody said it was a happy little tale, if somebody told you I was just your average ordinary guy, not a care in the world, somebody lied. Alright class, before the bell rings, I just want to remind you all about the field trip we'll be taking to Ouroboros Labs in 3 days. You'll all have times to tell your parents or guardians to know what we'll be doing that day, as well as getting them to sign your permission slips," said the teacher, looking out over their class before they began handing out the permission slips. But several of the students beginning to whisper amongst each other, curious and intrigued about where they'll be going for their field trip. Well, one student perked up at hearing the name of where they'll be going for their field trip. The student was a 10-year-old boy with lightly tanned skin, bright spiky blonde hair, ocean blue eyes, and 3 unique whisker-like marks on his cheeks. With his attire consisting of a burnt orange t-shirt, a red hoodie left unzipped, navy blue jeans, and white sneakers with blue soles. This student was Naruto Namikaze, though he preferred using his mother's maiden name of Uzumaki, with him unable to help but smile slightly as he was handed a permission slip. Ouroboros Labs. Naruto thought, being familiar with the name and the company it's part of, making him excited at the chance to actually go there in person. Before everyone's attention went to the bell as it began ringing, making the students all quickly start getting up to rush out of the classroom. Only to be stopped when the teacher whistled sharply, making everyone look at them again. One last thing, but I hope it goes without saying that you all also need to make sure you complete all your work before the field trip. Otherwise, whether you have your slip signed up or not, you'll be staying here and finishing it all," the teacher said sternly, getting more than a few groans from students before they were allowed to leave. Everyone then exited the classroom, collecting their belongings from their lockers before making their way out of the school. With Naruto moving a little faster than everyone else, wanting to hurry up and get to the bus before anything happened. Unfortunately, not long after he got outside, the Uzumaki grunted when he was suddenly grabbed and thrown against a tree. "Crap, thought I had more time," Naruto thought, opening his eyes to see Hibachi and his 3 friends, or as he knew them as some of his personal tormentors. "And where do you think you're going, fox boy?" said Hibachi with a smirk as he held Naruto against a tree. "Home, you know, the place we always go after school. I mean, unless you needed to be reminded," said Naruto, making the boy scowl before one of them shoved a bunch of papers in his face. "Not without this, you aren't," the boy said, with Naruto moving his head the best as he could to see it was today's homework. "The bunch of paper I can't read because it's right in my face." "No thanks, I don't think I need that," Naruto said, only for it to be shoved into his chest. "It's our homework, loser. And you'll be doing it for us or else," said another boy, making the whiskered blonde frown. "And why would I do that?" questioned Naruto, but knew the reason given he was one of the top students in class, even if he would be the first to admit he wasn't really book smart, instead preferred learning through doing than reading or understanding theories. Not to say he couldn't do that, it just took him longer than if he were to learn by physically doing a task. "Because, since you like thinking you're so smart, you'll be making sure we go on that field trip. And if you don't, then we'll make you," Hibachi said, smirking wickedly as he held his fist up. "I don't think threatening the person whose help you're trying to get is the best idea. That'd make me just put a bunch of stupid answers and make it so you fail. Then again, given you're trying to make me do your work for you, it's not really surprising you wouldn't think past making the demand. But I suppose it'll be simpler to just say no, since I'm sure you're still processing everything I just said," Naruto said while looking at them all, knowing he was right as he saw them all slowly scowling at realizing he's refusing their demands. Before the Uzumaki grunted in pain when Hibachi decided to just punch him in the face, feeling blood start gushing out of his nose as he fell to the ground. With the 4 boys all starting to punch and kick him. "Shut it, you loser. You think you're better than us," Hibachi yelled, scowling as he kicked Naruto in the head, with Naruto simply curling up to lessen the damage. "Well, you are the ones ganging up on a single kid who can't defend himself. That kind of says more about you than," said Naruto, only to bite back a scream when one of them stomped on his ribs. "Why do I talk so much?" thought Naruto, given this wasn't anything new for him, being ganged up on and beaten by bullies for one reason or another. And he knew the best thing to do is not say anything to anger them further or try fighting back, the latter which would only get him in trouble. But he just couldn't help himself, sometimes, in making fun of them or making quips. "Hey. Pick on some your size jerks," someone said, before Naruto heard the sound of someone being tackled to the ground and began crying out, recognizing the voice as one of Hibachi's friends. Before he felt the attack stop, Naruto looked only to be surprised to see that another boy had tackled Hibachi's friend and was now punching him. Only for him to be grabbed from behind by one of the others and pulled off the one he attacked. "And it looks like we have someone thinking they're a Uchiha," said Hibachi, standing in front of the new boy, only to cry out when the boy slammed his head into his face, knocking Hibachi back. With him then throwing his head back into the one holding him as well, making the bully cry out as he let go of the new one. The new boy then ducked under a punch from the fourth bully, before slamming his fist into his face, sending him to the ground as well. "Not so funny when you're the ones on the ground, is it?" said the boy, looking at the beaten bullies before they all got up and looked at him nervously. This isn't over. We'll get you too, loser," Hibachi said while holding his nose, only for them to turn and run when the boy stepped towards them. "Yeah. Run away," the boy said, grabbing a rock and throwing it at the bullies before turning towards Naruto, allowing the Uzumaki to get a look at him. Seeing they were 10 years old as well, with tanned skin, disheveled, jet black hair swept to one side, that made him look like he just got done walking on a beach, and sea green eyes. With him wearing a blue t-shirt, navy blue jeans, and black and blue sneakers. "Hey, you alright?" asked the boy, holding out a hand, which Naruto gratefully took while keeping his other to his clearly broken nose. "Yeah, it's nothing I'm not used to. But thanks for the help," replied Naruto, thankful for the help, one of the few times someone made an attempt to try helping him when he was bullied. "No problem, I can't stand bullies and couldn't just do nothing. Now come on, you definitely need to go see the nurse," said the boy, taking Naruto back into the school to the nurse's office. "Okay. I'm Naruto by the way, Naruto Uzumaki," Naruto said, figuring he should introduce himself. "Nice to meet you, I'm Percy Jackson," introduced Percy as they shook hands. Later. After being looked over the nurse, with Naruto being given some ice for his nose until it stopped bleeding, before both boys were sent on their way. Unfortunately, they learned that they ended up missing the bus, but thankfully still had rides home. With Percy getting picked up his mother, while Naruto was picked up by his grandfather Jiraiya. But the man only being able to sigh at the state his grandson was in, but didn't say anything about it until they'd left the school. "What was it this time?" Jiraiya asked, being able to guess what happened, but wanted to know what led to the new bullying incident. "Just some boys that tried making me do their homework for them. And they didn't take kindly when I refused and possibly insulted their lack of intelligence," replied Naruto, making Jiraiya sigh again and shake his head. "But I didn't attack any of them, I swear," Naruto added quickly. "I know you didn't, you never attack anyone, nor fight back," said Jiraiya, with Naruto lowering his slightly at the latter part. It wasn't long before they got back home, with it being a decent-sized house, given Jiraiya's job as a traveling writer and his grandmother Tsunade's job as the head doctor of the hospital. The two went inside where they were greeted by Tsunade, who couldn't help but scowl at seeing the state Naruto was in. "I swear, I'm so close to going to that school and giving those idiot teachers a piece of my mind for not doing anything about keeping those brats under control. Right after I give the sorry excuse for the nurse they have a personal lesson in resetting broken bones," said Tsunade as she motioned for Naruto to sit down while she went to get her first aid kit. "What did they do this time?" Tsunade asked once she got her kit and began cleaning the scrapes and cuts he had, with Naruto grimacing slightly at the stinging sensation. "Tried making him do their homework and then attacked him when he refused. Though he did at least give a few insults about them being idiots," said Jiraiya with a small smirk, while Tsunade smirked at this. "Good, hopefully soon enough you'll be able to start making them leave you alone for good," stated Tsunade, as well she'd prefer it if their grandson didn't get into fights, if it meant not having him come back every other day like this, she'd let it slide. "It's fine, really. I'm sure they'll eventually get bored and find someone else to pick on. I should just learn to not say or do anything, it'd at least make things a little easier," said Naruto before lifting his shirt to show the growing bruise from where he was kicked in the ribs. The sight making his grandparents frown, along at being able to see while he said one thing, his expression told them what he's really feeling. Seeing the anger and annoyance he's repressed starting to shine in his eyes, knowing how much he hated being targeted like this. That he's always the one being picked on for one reason or another, or even no reason at all. But at the same time he doesn't do anything to avoid making things worse and getting himself in trouble. "You know, kid. While it is admirable to want to try and be the better person, there will come times where that isn't going to work. There will be moments where you will need to stand up for yourself and what you believe is right. Otherwise, you'll always be the one being pushed around by everyone," said Jiraiya, with Tsunade nodding in agreement. "Yeah, I'll leave that as problems for future Naruto to worry about," Naruto said, not wanting to worry about things that could happen, instead focusing on what is happening. But Jiraiya and Tsunade frowning, but shook their heads, deciding not to force the issue, and figured it'd be better to let the whiskered blonde learn on his own terms. So heard you'll be going on a field trip in a couple days. Where to? Tsunade asked as she gave him another once-over for any injuries she might have missed, before grabbing his nose and quickly snapping it back into place, making Naruto flinch at the sudden action. Yeah, we're going in 3 days, but we need to get our parents or guardians to sign the permission slip. And we're going to Ouroboros Labs. Replied Naruto with a small, excited smile, while his grandparents looked at him in shock at where they'll be going. Ouroboros Labs? The same one that's part of Sasuke International? Jiraiya asked, with Naruto nodding in response. All of them aware of both Ouroboros Labs and Sasuke International, given the latter is the same company that Minato and Kushina, Naruto's parents, used to work at before their tragic passing. With Jiraiya and Tsunade gaining mournful expression at thinking of their son and daughter-in-law. Knowing that neither of them would have done nothing the first time Naruto was bullied, especially Kushina with her infamous temper. Yeah. I'll finally be able to see it in person and everything that they'll have, everything they're working on. Said Naruto, excited to see it for himself, knowing Ouroboros Labs and Sasuke International were some of the leading companies in technology, medicine, biology, and techno-organic work. While Jiraiya and Tsunade traded a look, seeing how excited he was about the chance to go on the field trip, one of the few times he's been excited and happy since his parents died. Making them both agree that it would be a good chance for him to go and see where his parents worked. Despite their own private misgivings about the company and lab. Okay, you can go, just make sure you don't get into any trouble and don't touch anything, you shouldn't. Jiraiya said as they both signed the permission slip, much to Naruto's gratitude and happiness. Thank you. And I'll do my best. Naruto replied, excited and eager for the next 3 days to pass. Time skip 3 days. Naruto had a hard time containing his excitement as he got off the bus with the rest of his class as they had arrived at Ouroboros Labs. With the facility being located just outside of the city, given the fact it was nearly the size of Central Park. Being made up of several buildings that were dedicated to different kinds of research. All the students were greeted by their tour guide standing at the bottom of the steps to the main facility. The tour guide was a young man, looking to be either 19 or 20 years old, with fair skin, dark onyx-colored eyes, and ash-gray hair kept in a ponytail. With him wearing a high-collared purple shirt, a white lab coat with a name clip, dark purple dress pants, and black dress shoes. Hello everyone, it's a pleasure to have you all visiting us here at Ouroboros Labs. I am Kabuto Yakushi, I'll be your tour guide for the duration of your time here. Introduced Kabuto with a polite smile as he pushed up his glasses. Now if you'd all please follow me, we can begin the tour. And please remain together, everyone. We wouldn't want anyone getting lost. Kabuto said before leading the group into the main building. But the students looking around in amazement once they were inside, their amazement only growing as they moved past the reception area. To start things off, let's begin with a brief history lesson. Ouroboros Labs was created more than 20 years ago when our parent company Sasuke International created a new branch here in New York from their main branch in Japan. With Ouroboros Labs having been founded for the sole purpose of improving lives, developing new medicines and treatments for diseases, creating top-of-the-line prosthetics, alternative energy sources, and helping young minds thrive. Because just like the name, our leading scientist believes that human potential is truly infinite and that only limits you truly have are ones you believe you have. Explained Kabuto as he led them into a large laboratory. Now here in the main building, you won't see anything too exciting as this is mostly for research development. Where our employees think of new ideas, projects, theories, as well as experiments, and should they prove fruitful, they'll begin experimentation in one of the other buildings best suited for it. Kabuto said, showing them around the laboratory before going over the different projects currently in development. As they went, several students began asking questions, becoming curious and excited to learn even more at everything going on at the labs. While Naruto mostly kept to himself, but still looked like a kid in a candy story, taking in everything he saw and heard. Paying special attention as they began moving to the other buildings dedicated to all the different projects and research going on. And here is where we work on developing our prosthetics, working tirelessly on recreating that which people have lost, whether it be limbs or the inability to move. As well as developing new technology to assist emergency responders in their fields, including firefighters, paramedics, law enforcement, and natural disaster specialists. Kabuto said as they entered another building where the students saw different sections filled with people working different machines. Including prosthetic arms and legs, exosuits, and even drones, much to their amazement and excitement at seeing robotic technology. With Kabuto going over everything they saw and explaining what the different machinery did, as well as their purpose. The Uzumaki becoming further intrigued at all the new information before he's unable to help himself with the questions he wants to ask. What about giving people extra limbs? Naruto asked, raising his hand, making Kabuto and the students look at him. Extra limbs? Said Kabuto in amusement, though as he looked at the whiskered blonde, he couldn't help but feel he's seen him before. Yeah, like extra arms to perform more tasks or grab something if their own hands are doing something. It could be that they could extend out, allowing the person to not have to move if they're unable to. Could that be done? Said Naruto, with the guide now looking intrigued as he chuckled. Well, an interesting idea. I'm afraid we've tried such an experiment before. And the human mind would be at risk in trying to direct that many extra appendages, especially ones that aren't naturally connected to the body. Kabuto said. Then it could be the robotic limbs are controlled by an artificial intelligence. That way while they're connected to the brain, the user doesn't have to actually direct them, simply send an order to the AI, and they'll do what the person wants. Naruto said, intriguing Kabuto further. True, that's a possibility, placing an AI in the limbs. But what happens if the AI starts becoming too intelligent and poses a danger to the user or even become able to influence the user? What then? Questioned Kabuto, having an idea, but wanted to know what the boy thought. There could be an inhibitor chip, limiting the control the limbs would have and what they can do. If they try acting against the user or become dangerous, then the user can just think it to get them back under control or shut them down. Naruto replied, making the ash-haired scientist smile at his response. I was thinking the same thing, though with the addition of a remote activation switch, in the event the user proves to be even more of a danger than the robotic limbs, or should they fall into the wrong hands. But still, it's impressive you thought that far ahead. Kabuto said, impressed at Naruto's explanation and ideas, knowing not many children his age would think like that. Thank you. I have other ideas, since I do want to try and follow in my parents' footsteps. Said Naruto, wanting to be able to help others with his ideas, like his parents did in their work. I take it your parents are scientists or inventors. Stated Kabuto, further intrigued to hear this. They were Minato Namikaze and Kushina Uzumaki. I'm Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto revealed, causing Kabuto to look at him in shock. You mean you're Minato Namikaze's and Kushina Uzumaki's son? Kabuto asked in disbelief, now realizing why he looked so familiar, while Naruto nodded in response. I see, well then give me a moment while I make a quick call. Kabuto said, turning around and pulling out a phone, dialing a number and waiting a few moments. As he did this, Naruto started feeling a little uncomfortable as the other students were now looking at him, someone with curious or amazed expressions. And others looking at him in annoyance and muttering about him being a know-it-all or nerd. Before they all looked at Kabuto when he turned back towards them with a smile. Well, with this new development, I've gotten permission to give all of you a special treat that wasn't originally on the tour. If you'd follow me, we'll be making a detour to one of our newest projects. Said Kabuto, getting everyone's attention, the students feeling eager and excited at getting to see something new. Kabuto led them out of the building and towards another near the back of the facility, with the students seeing the image of a beast above the entrance. The beast looking like a lion, but with a goat's head and a snake for a tail, breathing fire. While Kabuto entered a passcode and had his handprint scanned for the doors opened. Let me be the first to welcome you all to Project Chimera. Said Kabuto as the doors opened, allowing them all to enter. The students looking around in amazement at seeing various workstations and holographic displays showing different animals. Before some of the animals seemed to combine together into one, not looking any different, but now seeming to have gotten something from the other animal. Named after the beast of Greek legend and the daughter of Echidna, Project Chimera involves genosplicing various animals before passing those traits onto humans. Imagine it where people with lost limbs can regrow them like a reptile, breathe underwater no different than dolphins, see in the dark using infrared echolocation. Kabuto explained, with the students being excited and fantasizing about having animal powers. This is also the project your parents were a part of. Said Kabuto, looking at Naruto, much to his surprise. They were part of this? Naruto asked, not knowing the exact details of what his parents worked on here, only that their research was to help people. They were. In fact, it was with their help we were able to make such great strides in seeing this project succeed. Unfortunately, their deaths had set us back due to their research notes having been lost with them. But who knows, perhaps you'll be able to help finish what they started. Kabuto said with a smirk while pushing his glasses up, while the whiskered blonde looked around in renewed amazement at seeing the same project his parents were part of. Kabuto led them through the facility until they soon came to an outdoor part of the building, finding themselves in a wide open platform. While down below, the students were further amazed to see multiple large pens filled with animals. From lions, tigers, panthers, to alligators, crocodiles, snakes, bears, monkeys, gorillas, hippos, giraffes, and several others. Even large tank displays showing aquatic animals like sharks, dolphins, squids and octopuses, and other schools of fishes. Are these animals part of the EEXX experiments? One of the students asked nervously, with Kabuto chuckling and shaking his head. No, these animals aren't ones we use in our experiments. These are just displays for tourists and the media to observe. But they aren't the only ones we have here, the rest are in the other building," said Kabuto, motioning to another building they were heading towards. Now, one thing to understand about Project Chimera and the splicing process is that we perform radiation infusion on the actual test animals, with it helping them better survive the splicing process and better adapt to the new DNA incorporated into them. Though sometimes animals won't display any changes from the donor animal, but their offspring might. An example would be that a rat infused with lizard DNA might now be capable of regrowing a lost limb, but its offspring would have the potential to inherit that trait. Kabuto explained as they soon arrived at the other building and entered it. With more than a few students screaming when they went inside, only to find they were in an entirely glass corridor, letting them see inside. Finding dozens and dozens, multiple rows of little containers filled with spiderwebs and spiders in them. Along with the spiders, they saw a few people in hazmat suits in the display areas studying and observing the spiders. And here is another part of Project Chimera. Here we're working on splicing the DNA of multiple spiders to create a, shall we say, super spider of sorts. Given how various species of spiders are capable of performing feats that other spiders couldn't. Such experiments are even being performed elsewhere, with goats being infused with spider genes to produce spider silk, which has numerous medical uses in it due to being 5 times stronger than steel. Though we also have to keep them in separate display cases, as all spiders are very territorial and will kill each other if they were all left together. Kabuto explained, making several students shiver as they looked at the spiders. Though as Kabuto was explaining the different spiders they were working on, the scientists that were currently in the restricted area had just finished up their work and going through decontamination and disinfectant. None of them aware how one of the spider display case hadn't been properly sealed, resulting in the arachnid following one of the scientists through. But the spider quickly moving up the walls to avoid being spotted, waiting for a chance to make its escape from the facility. Before noticing the tour group was about to leave, the spider seeing its chance as it moved towards the exit. As the tour group went to leave the building, Naruto couldn't help but feel happy at having gotten the chance to see the project his parents were personally working on. One that they were able to help make strides in completing before their deaths. Even better at how cool the project was, splicing animals and passing their unique traits onto humans. Only for the Uzumaki to be pulled from his thoughts when he cried out in pain at feeling something suddenly bite his neck, slamming his hand over whatever bit him. Before he stiffened, feeling as if something was wrong, only to soon pass out at the strange sensation shooting through his body. "Do you care to repeat that, Stockman?" said Oroku Saki, CEO and founder of Saki International, while narrowing his eyes at the image of his scientists, Baxter Stockman, over the video phone. Saki is a tall Japanese man with slick-back black hair that had a blue tint, fair skin, and narrow, intimidating brown eyes. With him wearing a dark gray business suit consisting of black dress shoes, gray dress pants, a white button-up shirt, a black tie, and a gray jacket. While Baxter Stockman is an adult man with dark skin, short black hair that's flat at the top, and brown eyes with his attire consisting of maroon loafers, navy blue dress pants, a white button-up shirt, a dark blue tie, and a white lab coat over it. But Stockman having come under Saki's employ after he'd bought out his company, Stocktronics Corporation, due to the advancement they've made in robotics. Advancements that Saki knew would be useful for several of his own projects. Well, Stockman was made one of his leading scientists due to his intelligence being an added benefit for his company. "As I said, sir, I've just received word from Ouroboros Labs about an incident involving one of the children visiting there on a field trip. One of the spiders being worked on in Project Chimera was able to escape and it ended up biting one of the students," Stockman repeated, with Saki narrowing his eyes and clenching his fists in annoyance. "Is the child dead?" Saki asked, knowing how much of a problem it'd be if a child died on his company's property. Surprisingly, no. Even with the radiation testing we've done on the spiders, the boy is still alive, unconscious and currently in the hospital, but very much alive. It's actually rather fascinating, the spider was one of the ones that's been spliced with multiple strands of different spider DNA, and the radiation alone would kill a person 3 times the boy's age," said Stockman, intrigued at how anyone could survive something that'd kill anyone else. "Whether the boy is alive or not is inconsequential. Just see to it that he and his family are suitably compensated for this unfortunate accident. As for the scientists involved in this mess, see that they're fired and silenced," said Saki, not really caring about the boy, but it's mostly for the PR to show how apologetic he is that such a thing happened in one of his divisions. What he really wanted was to make sure all the fools involved in this mess dealt with and silenced for their incompetence. Not only letting one of the spiders get out, but that it could have caused a much bigger incident if it wasn't handled quickly enough. "I'll see it done right away," Stockman replied before Saki ended the call and turned around in his chair to look his office window. I refuse to have everything I've built be brought down because of human incompetence. I've worked too long and too hard gaining control of the city to have it all be made meaningless. Certainly not by fools that can't even do their job properly or anything else. Saki thought while narrowing his eyes towards the Empire State Building. Yes, he had no intentions of letting anyone or anything get in his way, no police, no government, and certainly no so-called deities. But Naruto. Where am I? Naruto muttered as he's laying down on the ground and looking up at the dark sky. It's night, said Naruto in confusion, having sworn that it was still the middle of the day. It's alright my darling. You've been asleep for a while now. A female voice said, making Naruto tilt his head up, realizing his head was laid out on someone's lap. Though he couldn't make out any of the woman's features, the only thing could see the kind smile on her face, along with feeling her fingers running through his hair. "You are," said Naruto, feeling himself relaxing under her touch, along with feeling like it was familiar. "You don't have to worry little one, mother is here to keep you safe now," cooed the woman softly, surprising the whiskered blonde. "Hasan?" Naruto asked, hopefully that it actually is his mother, with the woman's smile growing. "Yes, Hasan is here and she'll keep you safe. You don't have to be afraid anymore, just relax in mother's embrace," the woman said, while Naruto's eyes slowly closed. The Uzumaki missing the woman's mouth opening slightly, revealing short fangs, or how her eyes starting glowing, illuminating the spiderweb pattern in her grayer eyes. Or that he was really laying on top of a massive spiderweb. Naruto only being able to relax, feeling happy at being with his mother again. Real world. Opening his eyes, Naruto found himself in a room he didn't recognize, only to look around and realize he's in a hospital room, along with recognizing it as being the hospital his grandmother works at. It was just a dream. Naruto thought, saddened that it wasn't really, and remembering that his parents are dead. Before he began remembering what happened, the field trip, seeing Project Chimera, all the spiders, and then suddenly feeling something biting his neck. This causing the whiskered blonde to shoot up and touch his neck where he felt himself be bit. Only to frown when he barely felt anything, as if the bite was already healing. What even bit me? It felt like a spider. Did one of the spiders get out, somehow? Thought Naruto in worry that one of those spiders could have gotten out and bit him. Though before he could think more on it, Naruto's attention turned towards the door when it opened and his grandparents walked in, looking at him in surprise and relief. "Oh thank goodness, you're alright," Tsunade said, rushing over and hugging Naruto, with Jiraiya going over as well and patting him on the head. "We got a call about what happened at the labs and rushed over as soon as we could, bringing you here. Tsunade's been running every test she can to make sure you're alright," said Jiraiya, confusing the whiskered blonde a little. "Really? I don't feel anything wrong, I feel fine actually," Naruto replied, realizing that he didn't actually feel bad. "Well, you shouldn't. You were bit by a spider exposed to radiation and who knows what else. It's a miracle you're even still alive right now. And those idiots over there," said Tsunade, trailing off and scowling in anger, not believing they couldn't even notice a spider escaping whatever testing area it was kept in. "Take it easy, Tsunade, if the kid says he's fine, then I'm sure he's fine. And let's just be glad he is still alive too," Jiraiya said reassuringly, with the woman scoffing and crossing her arms. "I'll take it easy when I make sure our grandson doesn't start suddenly growing extra limbs or losing the ones he has," Tsunade retorted. "So how long have I been here? And have you two been here the entire time?" Naruto asked, not wanting his grandmother to start going on a rant or making threats like she's done before. "Just a couple of hours, you've been unconscious the rest of the day and most of the night. And Tsunade's been here the entire time, making sure you were alright while I've stopped by a few times," replied Jiraiya. "We were going to come check on you earlier, but an old friend stopped by after hearing what happened," Tsunade added, saying friend sarcastically, with Naruto nodding slowly. "So if I'm alright, can I leave then?" said Naruto, eager to leave the hospital now that he's awake and feels perfectly fine. "Absolutely no," said Tsunade, intending to keep him here until she's sure that nothing will happen. "Sure kid, if you're really alright we can head home, now," Jiraiya said, much to Naruto's relief before he quickly got out of the hospital bed. While Tsunade narrowed her eyes at her husband, making Jiraiya gulp and knew he'd be getting an earful later and would likely be on the couch for a couple of days now. Time skip one day. After returning home, Naruto had immediately gone up to his room and collapsed on his bed, not even bothering to change his clothes, still feeling tired and exhausted from what happened. Though the next morning his alarm clock soon began beeping, only for the Uzumaki to suddenly shoot awake the second it went off. Slamming his fist down on top of the snooze button, with the clock immediately being crushed under his fist. "Stupid clock," thought Naruto as he laid down to go back to sleep, happy that he won't have to deal with the alarm anymore. with it taking a few moments for what just happened to register, making Naruto's eyes snap open and slowly turned his towards the now destroyed clock. "But the," Naruto muttered, looking at the clock in disbelief before looking at his hand, being further shocked to see it wasn't even scratched. Looking between the clock's remains and his hand for a few moments, Naruto closed his eyes and slowly shook his head before getting out of bed. Taking off his clothes from yesterday, he went over to his dresser and began pulling out some clean clothes. But when he tried removing his hand from the drawer, Naruto frowned when he found he couldn't take his hand off, like it was glued on. Shaking his arm a few times to try and free his hand, Naruto grunted as he pulled as hard as he could to pry his hand off the drawer. Only to quickly duck when the drawer was ripped out of the dresser and went flying against the wall, where it broke. The whiskered blonde slowly stood back up with wide eyes, not believing what just happened. Before he jumped when he heard a knocking at his door. "Naruto? Are you alright? I just heard a crash," said Tsunade, making Naruto panic as he looked at the destroyed clock and drawer. Yeah, I'm fine granny, I just fell out of bed," Naruto replied, not wanting to freak out his grandparents, especially after what happened. Not doubting his grandmother would personally drag him to the hospital and never let him leave until she found out what happened to him. "You sure if you fell did you need anything?" Tsunade asked, with Naruto quickly nodding despite how she couldn't see him. "Perfectly fine. Please don't come in, since I'm getting changed now," said Naruto, relieved when she didn't try making a move to enter the room. "Okay, then hurry up and get ready, you still need to get to school," said Tsunade before Naruto heard her footsteps retreating. That was close. Naruto thought, sighing in relief before heading to his bathroom. But just before he grabbed the handle, the Uzumaki paused and glanced back at his destroyed clock and drawer, then looked back at the handle. Rather than grab it with his hand, he carefully put 2 fingers around it and slowly turned the handle, sighing in relief it didn't break. "Okay, at least I don't," Naruto thought, glad he can at least still touch things without accidentally breaking them, only to freeze when he heard a snapping sound. Please, thought Naruto, closing his eyes and hoping it wasn't what he thought it was, before he looked down. Seeing it's exactly what he thought, as the door handle was stuck to his fingers before it fell to the ground, making Naruto sigh. "I'm so screwed," Naruto thought, not sure how he's supposed to make it through the day if he either breaks everything he touches or somehow sticks to everything he touches. Later. Luckily, Naruto was able to carefully get cleaned up and dressed without any further incident of breaking or sticking to anything. Forcing himself to just not think about what happened, hoping that it'd help prevent anything else from happening. With it thankfully working, as he was able to finish and get to school without another incident. Eventually succeeding in really putting what happened in the back of his mind rather than just trying to ignore it and focus on going about his day without worry. Though he did get more than a few looks from some of the other students, given what happened on the field trip. Figuring that getting bit by a radioactive spider and taken to the hospital would get some attention. But other than that, nothing out of the ordinary had happened, much to the whiskered blonde's relief. Now though, Naruto was outside during recess and just finishing up his lunch before going to head back inside. Only to suddenly stop and tense when he felt a strange tingling sensation in the back of his head, as if something was telling him he's in danger. Before he was shocked when he turned around, catching a soccer ball that would have hit the back of his head. "How did I?" Naruto thought in disbelief at how his body seemingly moved on its own, along with knowing the ball was coming at him. "Hey fox boy," said Hibachi as he and his 3 friends went up to the Uzumaki, glaring at him, with Naruto mentally cursing before glancing around. "Don't bother, hoping Jackson will come and save you this time," one of the bullies said. "Yeah, that freak got expelled for attacking us for no reason," another added tauntingly, making Naruto frown at hearing this. "Only because you all attacked me first," Naruto retorted, not liking that Percy ended up getting expelled just for helping him. "And who was gonna believe some troublemaker over the 4 us? It's not like you do anything anyway. Besides taking it like the wimp you are," said the 3rd bully, making the 4 laugh while the whiskered blonde scowled. The 4 they were immediately silenced when Naruto threw the soccer ball at the first bully, with it slamming right in his stomach and knocking him to the ground gasping for air. Much to Hibachi's and the other 2's shock, as well as the other students outside. "Sorry, did that hurt? I only know how to throw dodgeballs," Naruto said with a taunting smirk, making Hibachi scowl in anger. "You're dead, loser," said Hibachi, charging Naruto and with his fist pulled back, while Naruto once again felt the strange tingling sensation in the back of his head. Allowing the Uzumaki to react before Hibachi even finished throwing his punch, leaning to the side and dodging. Before dodging the next punch, leaning to the other side, with the punch after that seemed like it was going on slow motion. "Whoa," thought Naruto, moving to the side and completely dodging the attack as everything seemed to speed up again. with Hibachi giving a shout and just charging Naruto with his arm held out, only for the Uzumaki to once again succeed in dodging as he bent all the way back. Far enough to see the stunned faces of the forming crowd around them before he stood up straight and faced Hibachi. Naruto slowly raised his fists in case he tried attacking again, only to feel the tingling again. Leading to the whiskered blonde jumping high up in the air and backflipping over the other two bullies, much to their shock. None of them able to believe what just happened as Naruto landed on his feet behind the two, smirking as he grabbed them by their collars. "Didn't anyone ever tell you to watch your backs?" Naruto stated before slamming their heads together, sending them to the ground groaning in pain. Naruto's attention then turned back to Hibachi when he charged him again, throwing wild punches in the hopes to hit him at least once. Only for Naruto to rapidly dodge each punch without so much as being grazed by one. Before he raised his arms, blocking Hibachi's next two punches from either side, grabbing his arm when he tried throwing another punch. But the Uzumaki now glaring at the bully and slowly twisting his arm, making Hibachi groan in pain at the pressure on his wrist. Until Naruto pulled his fist back and slammed it right into Hibachi's face, sending him flying back, the crowd parting to avoid getting hit. The bully crying out as he hit the ground and held his face, with blood leaking out of his nose. "Ah. You psycho. What's wrong with you?" Hibachi yelled, not believing what just happened. You attacked me first, I was just defending myself. I guess you're used to picking on preschoolers if you never had an actual fight before, huh?" Naruto said tauntingly as the other bullies picked themselves looking at him in panic and fear. "You really are a freak, Uzumaki. Let's get out of here," said one of the bullies as they ran away, making the other students cheer at seeing someone finally stand up to Hibachi and his lackeys. Naruto though froze as the realization slowly dawned on him at what just happened and what he just did, wiping away any enjoyment at finally standing up for himself. Making him look around, seeing that while some of the students were happy at seeing the bullies taken down, others were looking at him with disbelief, wariness, or even fear. Leading to Naruto simply making a run for it, not sure what else to do than run from school and try to find someplace where he could think and try to figure out what's happening. All while not even realizing just how fast he was now running or succeeding in avoiding anyone or anything in his way without really looking at where he was going. Before he soon stopped and ran down an alleyway, panting lightly as he leaned against the wall, looking at his hands in disbelief and confusion. "How did I do any of that?" thought Naruto, unable to understand anything that's happened today. Breaking his alarm clock like it was nothing, sticking to his dresser drawer and yanking it out, breaking the doorknob off when he was barely touching it. Now at school, somehow sensing that soccer ball was coming at him, throwing it hard enough to knock down one of the bullies. Dodging all of Hibachi's attacks before they could reach him, jumping nearly 8 feet in the air and backflipping. And then punching Hibachi hard enough to send him flying back and break his nose. None of it made any sense to the whiskered blonde, all of it seeming like something out of a comic book or even that soldier guy he's read about from World War II. Though before he could think further on it, Naruto paused and looked up at a fire escape, somehow being able to notice a spiderweb and a spider crawling along it. With realization soon dawning on the Uzumaki at why exactly and how this was happening. "The spider bite," thought Naruto, looking at his hands, wondering how getting bit by a radioactive spider could suddenly make him super strong, sticky, and aware of any danger to him. Wait, Naruto thought while looking up at the building, then at his hands again, slowly getting an idea to try something. Before Naruto approached the wall and placed his hand on it, then putting his other one, finding both his hands were stuck to the wall. Only to grunt as a few times as he couldn't move them, only to be shocked when he accidentally ripped out part of the bricks in the wall. Okay, no trying to just force myself to not stick. Maybe I just need to relax and let it happen," thought Naruto, taking a few deep breaths to relax himself, smiling when the brick pieces fell off his fingers. Trying again, Naruto placed his hands on the wall, smiling in amazement as he slowly removed one and placed it higher on the wall. Soon placing his feet on the wall, not actually believing it but also amazed as he began crawling up the wall like it was the most natural thing in the world. It wasn't long before Naruto soon reached the top of the building and pulled himself up to the roof. Looking down, the Uzumaki smiled in excitement at how far he climbed up off the ground before he looked at the neighboring building. Unable to resist trying, Naruto backed up from the ledge before he immediately ran towards it. Jumping up and over to the next roof, much to his growing excitement. Not stopping there, Naruto kept running and jumping across rooftops, crying out in amazement at what he's doing, unable to believe this was really happening. Only for his excitement to suddenly be cut short when he jumped onto the next roof, only to end up landing on a sky window and crash right through it. Making Naruto now cry out in shock and panic, only to grunt and groan in pain when he landed on the ground. "Couldn't warn me about that, you stupid tingle," Naruto muttered before he picked himself up, only to see how far he fell and realized the fall would have killed him, if not broken several bones. Instead the most he felt was sore, making him smile slightly again at seeing he's not just stronger and faster, but also a lot tougher as well. Before he noticed the building he crashed into, seeing it's an abandoned gym still filled with equipment, with him having landed in a boxing ring, making his smile grow. Let's see what else I can do, thought Naruto, getting out the ring and went over to the equipment, eager to see what other powers he has. I don't know how it could happen. Being bit by a radioactive spider and suddenly I have superpowers, it all felt so unreal. But it was real, whatever that spider bite did to me, it made me into something else. I was stronger than anything I've seen before. Naruto grunted a little as he grabbed a large set of weights and slowly lifted it up into the air, grinning when he lifted it over his head. Even better when he slowly moved it and held it up above by one of the ends, while not feeling the least bit tired or strained. I could move faster and my body reacted to anything before I could even think it. Running around the gym, Naruto flipped, ducked, slid, and jumped over anything in his way, sometimes not even needing to look at something to avoid it. I could perform like an acrobat and bend my body like it was elastic. Releasing a breath, Naruto jumped up and grabbed horizontal bar, flipping around it several times until he came to a stop completely upside down. The Uzumaki grinned as he slowly removed one of his hands from the bar, yet didn't so much as wobble. Until he let himself fall, spinning around the bar once more before letting go, flipping and twisting in the air as he landed on his feet. And I could stick to any surface, moving along it like it's the floor. Naruto crawled up the wall and the ceiling of the gym, getting better at making himself stick and unstick from any surface. It felt like I had all the power in the world, and at the time, I really believed it too. Who would have thought a single spider bite could lead to something so incredible? But what happens when a 10-year-old kid that's been bullied and treated as a social outcast suddenly gains superpowers? I'll tell you what happens. Smirking, Naruto grabbed one of the heaviest weight plates, balancing the edge of it on the tip of his finger, and began spinning it around. Chuckling at how easy it was for him to lift something that most adults would have trouble moving. Before he then suddenly grabbed it and threw the plate into one of the gym's pillars, where it embedded itself in the concrete. I got drunk off of it. And that led to a lot of mistakes. Naruto had continued training and testing his powers at the gym the rest of the day, only leaving to return home once he saw it had gotten dark. Making the whiskered blonde quickly leave and rush back home, while knowing his grandparents wouldn't be happy with how long he was gone. Especially his grandmother. And if they learned what happened at school, I'll be lucky if they let me out of their sight, thought Naruto, knowing he's going to be in a lot of trouble. With him soon arriving home, only to pause from going inside when he saw the lights were still on, making the Uzumaki momentarily consider returning to the gym and wait. Though at the same time he knew the longer he was gone the worse it was going to be. Might as well just get it over with now, Naruto thought, sighing in resignation as he went up and entered, preparing himself for the worse. Finding his grandparents in the living room, both with matching unamused looks, with Naruto gulping when he saw Tsunade looking at him with narrowed eyes. His nervousness only growing when they didn't immediately say anything. Look who finally decided to show up when it's nearly 11 at night, Tsunade stated after making her grandson squirm a little. And after we spent over 4 hours trying to find out where you were, after getting a call from your school saying you left while it was still in session, added Jiraiya, making Naruto gulp again. Could I at least explain? Naruto asked, only to freeze when Tsunade stood up. Oh, you want to explain now? Then by all means, please explain why we both needed to leave work to go to your school and hear that you attacked 4 boys, then suddenly left and coming back in the middle of the night. Go on, explain. Tsunade demanded, getting louder with each word. With Naruto flinching, only to frown and scoff when she said that he attacked Hibachi and his lackeys, which wasn't untrue, but he doubted that's how it was told. They attacked me first. They threw a ball at me and when I threw it back, they came at me. Everything I did was self-defense. Though it's not like they didn't have it coming, Naruto said, angry that he's the one getting in trouble just for defending and standing up for himself. So you didn't instigate it then? Jiraiya asked, more calm than his wife, willing to hear what he had to say. No, they started it, I just finished it, said Naruto, with his grandparents frowning but calming down before Tsunade sighed and pinched the bridge of her nose. Okay. We can understand if you fought back in self-defense. But from what we were told, you clearly went way too far, said Tsunade, with Jiraiya nodding in agreement. She's right, kid. You broke a kid's nose and 2 of them actually had minor concussions from you slamming their heads together. You should consider yourself lucky that it wasn't anything worse, Jiraiya said with a frown. Though while they were upset at what he did, they were more worried given his near-death experience now this happening. Jiraiya and Tsunade had been more worried at him suddenly running from school and unable to find him afterwards, being relieved that he did come back home. You two keep telling me I need to stand up for myself, Naruto muttered, making his grandparents frown slightly before sighing. Yeah, we do. But there's a difference from self-defense and then becoming the bully you're defending yourself from. Well, it's good to stand up against them, you need to also know when to hold back. Said Jiraiya, not wanting him to become the same as the kids that push him around. We aren't angry, upset yes, but not angry. We're just worried and don't want anything to happen to you, especially with what's already happened. So while you can still defend yourself, can you please remember there are limits to what you can do? Tsunade said. The whiskered blonde stayed silent for a few moments before eventually nodding. Yeah, I promise. If anything happens again, I'll only defend myself and that's it. Naruto said, calming down from his initial anger at being blamed for what happened. Good. Now, it's late, get to bed, since you'll still be going to school tomorrow. And be thankful you only have detention for a week. Said Jiraiya, making Naruto sigh but figured it was too much to hope he wouldn't get into trouble. Okay, good night. Said Naruto, heading up to his room to go to bed, all while hoping that things will go more smoothly tomorrow. We're also going to talk about what happened to your alarm clock, your dresser drawer and the bathroom doorknob. Said Tsunade, having checked his room early to see if he'd come back while they were looking for him, only to find several things broken. The Uzumaki paused at this, mentally sighing and cursing himself for not hiding that stuff before he left this morning. Knowing he's going to need to think of a good enough excuse to explain what happened. Not wanting to freak his grandparents out more than they already are by telling them he suddenly has superpowers from a spider bite. Next day. The next day after getting cleaned and dressed, along with a bigger breakfast since he hadn't eaten after returning home from his training, Naruto began making his way to school. All while mentally preparing himself for whatever was waiting for him when he got there. I should probably expect Hibachi and the others to want to get payback. Naruto thought, knowing him fighting back would only make them angrier, especially since it was in front of other students. If he learned one thing when dealing with them, especially Hibachi, it's they really hated it if they thought someone was making fun of them. I'll just keep my head down and do my best to avoid anyone. With any luck everything will go back to normal after a few days. Or something else will happen that'll make everyone forget what I did and focus on that instead. Thought Naruto. It wasn't long before he soon arrived at school, keeping his head down as he prepared to go inside only to tense when he saw two people walking up to him. Even more so, when one of them wrapped an arm around his neck. There he is. Man of the hour has finally arrived. The person said, with Naruto mentally cursing as he hasn't even gotten inside the building before he looked at who they were. Seeing they were both boys, one who looked to be his age and the other, who had his arm around his neck, a few years older, Naruto would guess he looked to be 13 years old. He also vaguely recognized them as also being students, having seen them a few times. The first boy had fair skin, brown eyes and straight shoulder length, dull bluish-gray hair in an asymmetrical style, with a single lock of hair falling into his face. With him wearing black sneakers with purple soles, navy blue jeans and an off-white shirt. He also had a unique bracelet, with it being completely purple and shaped like a dragon devouring its own tail. And the second boy also had fair skin, slanted blue eyes and long golden blonde hair held together in a half ponytail, with the rest hanging freely, along with a bang hanging over the left side of his face. His attire consisted of brown sandals, baggy khaki pants, a turquoise shirt and a gray vest. Something else that caught Naruto's eye is he could see something purple on his face beneath his bang, but couldn't see exactly what. Naruto looked at the two warily, seeing the smirks of their faces and how they were acting as if they've been friends for years. Relax, we're not gonna hurt you, I think your display yesterday showed why that'd be bad for us. The first boy said, holding his hands up to show they didn't mean any harm. Yeah. If anything we want to congratulate you on putting those losers in their place, It was certainly a fun show. Said the second boy as his smirk grew. Thanks, I guess. Do I know you too? Naruto asked, wondering why they suddenly approached him. The name's Madara, I'm a few grades above you. And that's Sora, you probably see him around more often. Introduced Madara, with Sora nodding in greeting. Nice meeting you. Sora said. Naruto merely nodded before quickly shrugging off Madara's arms. Yeah, you too. But I need to go now, class is going to start soon. Said Naruto as he quickly walked into the school, seeing the crowded halls of everyone arriving. What's the rush? We just want to say thanks for what you did yesterday. Someone's needed to knock those assholes around, you're the one that just finally did it. Said Sora as they quickly caught up to him. Yeah, relax a little and enjoy the success. Losers like them always think they're so strong by staying together until someone bigger and stronger shows them how weak they are. And you really showed how strong you are. Take some pride in it, no shame in showing you aren't someone to mess with. Madara added, making Naruto look at them before shaking his head. It was nothing, really. I don't even know how I did it and only defended myself. said Naruto, remembering his promise to his grandparents. Nothing. You're really calling what you did nothing. Ha. You're funny, but be honest, you enjoyed knocking them around just a little. Said Madara with a smirk. Believe me, I can give you a list of students that wouldn't hesitate to do the same, but they're all too scared. Now those same students are gonna admire, as you were able to do what they've wanted to do since day one of dealing with Hibachi and his lackeys. Go ahead, just look around you. Sora said, motioning to the other students around them. With Naruto glancing around at the other students, noticing how some of them were looking at him in amazement. There he is. He knocked out Hibachi like it was nothing. I'm glad someone finally did. Maybe now they'll leave the rest of us alone. Someone gave them a taste of their own medicine. Despite himself and wanting to keep his word, Naruto couldn't help but enjoy what he's hearing. Being praised for knocking down Hibachi and his lackeys. Showing they weren't as tough as they thought they were, that he wouldn't be pushed around anymore. See? They all wanted to do the same, and if they were in your shoes, I guarantee they wouldn't even need an excuse, they would have simply attacked the losers the first chance they got. But you did, now you're their hero. Said Sora smirking at the whiskered blonde, with Naruto unable to deny he liked the sound of that. Look at him. Don't look. How do we know he won't come after us next? Hibachi was a jerk, but what he did was crazy. I can't believe he's even still going to school. Only to hear the rest of what the students were saying, now seeing that while some were amazed at what he did, there were also those looking at him warily. Some of them even looked away in fear when he looked at them, making Naruto frown. I don't think everyone thinks the same. Naruto muttered, only for Madara to pat him on the back. Well, you can't make everyone happy, but who cares? You think anyone is going to say anything, let them talk all they want, that's all they're good for. But you wanna know the truth, they're just jealous. Madara said, making Naruto look at him with a raised brow. Jealous? Naruto asked, not sure that's true with what he's hearing. Of course. You're one of the smartest kids here, now you're also the strongest. And they can't stand it that you're the smartest and the strongest, after all no one likes it when someone better shows up. Showing how pathetic they really are, But at the same time, they admire you, that you're smarter, stronger, everything they wish they could be. And the best part, what they can't stand the most, they know they can't touch you, Said Madara with a smirk, while Naruto looked around again. They can't. Said Naruto, trying to ignore their words, to keep his promise. No, they can't. Because now they know they can't mess with you, not unless they want to end up like Hibachi and the rest of those losers that follow him. You're the one they'll avoid now, the one everyone will look up to, the one they know they shouldn't mess with. Sora said. And that feels good, doesn't it? To have that respect, the admiration, the jealousy, all of it, and knowing there's nothing anyone can do about it. Madara added temptingly. Looking around at everyone in the hallways, the looks of either amazement or wariness, the whispers about him. Naruto didn't even notice as a barely noticeable smirk began appearing on his face at the sight of it all, along with Madara's and Sora's words. Yeah, I like it a lot. Naruto mentally admitted to himself. Later. Alright boys. Today we'll be playing a game of basketball, so all of you group up into 2 teams. Said the PE teacher, with all the boys scrambling to get into teams with their friends or the team with who they thought would easily win the game for them. Among them were Hibachi and his crew, all of them glaring hatefully at Naruto for how he humiliated them yesterday, wanting nothing more than to get back at him. Before Hibachi looked at the boys coming over to join their team and smirked eagerly as he got an idea. Hey, what do the rest of you think of knocking the freak back down and remind him his place? Hibachi said, getting their attention as they looked at Naruto before turning back to Hibachi. What did you have in mind? Questioned one of them, interested in the chance to put the freak nerd in his place. We simply remind him where he belongs, and let's see how the freak likes it when even his own team doesn't want him around. Said Hibachi, eager to make the Uzumaki regret messing with him. Once all the boys were split into 2 teams, with Naruto being relieved, he wasn't stuck with Hibachi or any of his lackeys as teams. Though missed how most of his teammates were looking at him before glancing at the other team, with Hibachi glaring at them, before the teacher stepped forward. Okay, with the teams made play ball. Said the teacher, tossing the basketball into the air between both sides starting the game. Naruto quickly rushed to grab the ball, only to yelp when he felt someone suddenly push him from behind, causing him to stumble. Move it, loser. Said Hibachi, snatching the ball before roughly shoving Naruto aside knocking him to the ground. Grunting at the shove, Naruto glared at Hibachi before quickly getting up and running after him to take the ball. But just before he could reach the bully, he felt a faint tingle in the back of his head, similar to yesterday but less intense. Before he suddenly tripped and fell to the floor again, making the Uzumaki look only to see one of his teammates trip him, much to his annoyance. Which only grew when he saw barely anyone was trying to stop Hibachi from scoring a goal, while those that were trying were being blocked by the bully's teammates. Thanks for the help. Naruto said sarcastically while glaring at the boy who tripped him, only for him to simply try and look innocent as the Uzumaki got up. Scoffing, Naruto ran to get the ball now that it was in his team's possession, seeing his teammate that had it before getting into position so they could pass it to him. Holding his arms to get their attention, the Uzumaki went to grab it when they tossed the ball. Only to scowl when again one of his teammates interfered, getting in front of him and knocking the ball right to one of Hibachi's teammates. "You're supposed to keep the ball away from the other team," said Naruto though gritted teeth, brushing past them to try and get it back. But the moment he tried getting close, he was blocked by 3 members of the opposing team, with Naruto resisting the urge to simply jump over them, mentally reminding himself of his promise. Though when he tried getting around them, felt someone shove him from behind again. Knocking Naruto right into the opposing players who didn't hesitate to charge into him, sending the whiskered blonde skidding across the ground. "Hey. That was a foul right there," Naruto said, looking to the teacher, only to see the man leaning against the wall with a bored look. "Play nice boys, it's just a friendly game," said the teacher, though made no move to actually do something, much to Naruto's growing annoyance. Which only grew when he saw Hibachi scored another goal, while barely any of his teammates did anything to stop him. "I'll only do a little," Naruto thought, seeing that no one was really trying to actually win and only seemed to care about making sure he kept getting knocked around. Once the ball was back in his team's possession, Naruto shot forward as the opposing team tried stopping him. But this time Naruto did jump over them and kept running forward where he was actually able to get the ball once it was passed to him. Pleased at finally getting it, Naruto quickly turned and began dribbling to the other end of the court, avoiding the other team as they tried stopping him. But before he got close enough to take a shot, one of his own teammates actually knocked him aside while taking the ball themselves. Only to then seemingly have it taken by the opposing team again. "Seriously, aren't you going to do something about that?" Naruto said, glaring at his teammate before looking at the teacher again. "Keep your eye on the ball, boys," said the teacher unhelpfully, with the whiskered blonde slowly clenching his fists. His annoyance beginning to reach its limits as he saw Hibachi's team score another goal before he saw Hibachi and his lackeys now seemed to purposefully smirk tauntingly at him. Before Hibachi then actually looked at the rest of his team and a large part of Naruto's own. With them all then looking at the Uzumaki as it dawned at Naruto what they're doing. The sight made Naruto grit his teeth as he slammed his fist down on the ground hard enough to crack the wood. "Fine, you want to play that way. Let's play," Naruto muttered, refusing to do nothing if they want to turn everyone against him like that, and if the teacher won't do anything then he will. Seeing the ball was back his team's possession, Naruto ran to simply take it himself, while also keeping his senses open for anyone that tries getting in his way. Noticing one of his teammates getting ready to trip him as he passed by. Only for the Uzumaki to rush past them, while holding his leg out knocking their feet out from under them sending the boy to the ground. Before 3 opposing players tried blocking him again, with Naruto moving to the side at the last second. Shoulder checking one of the boys as he did so, knocking him into the other 2. When he was close enough to the player with the ball, Naruto didn't hesitate to simply take it not caring as he knocked the boy away as he did so. Since he didn't know who was working with Hibachi to mess him up and he's past the point of caring, either. Once he had the ball, Naruto dribbled to the other side to get a point, glaring as the opposing team went to block him. Though Naruto simply smirked before he bounced the ball hard off the ground, watching as it slammed into one of the enemy players' stomachs hard enough to knock the wind out of them. But the sudden hit surprising the others long enough for Naruto to retrieve the ball and throw it, his smirk growing as it fell through the net. Not stopping there as he saw the ball now go to Hibachi's team, Naruto waited until they got some distance before making his move. Charging forward before anyone could react, slamming into the player's side as he took the ball from them and went to score another point. The whiskered blonde then saw one of his teammates coming at him with their arms held out as if he should pass the ball to them, making Naruto scoff. "You want the ball, okay," Naruto thought, bouncing the ball again, watching as it immediately shot forward bouncing off the boy's head and back to him. Seeing 2 opposing players rushing at him from either side, Naruto's smirk grew as he waiting until the last moment before jumping into the air, causing them to crash into each other. The Uzumaki then landed on top of them, knocking both boys to the ground as he continued to his goal. But when Naruto saw Hibachi and his lackeys coming at him, giving him an idea he couldn't pass up as he then bounced the ball high up into the air. Causing all eyes to turn up to it as the players scrambled to get it, giving Naruto the chance he needed. Running right at Hibachi, Naruto jumped up and slammed his foot right down onto his face, getting a cry of pain from the bully. With the Uzumaki then using him as a platform to jump up higher and grab the ball out of the air, descending down to the goal. With everyone watching him in disbelief at how high he was and what he was about to do, before everyone was completely shocked as Naruto slam dunked the ball. Doing it hard enough the glass backboard shattered into the pieces while pulling the basket down with him when he grabbed it. The sight shocking everyone, with even Naruto being stunned at what happened, looking at the basket as he dropped it. Okay, wasn't expecting that. Naruto thought, only for the teacher to suddenly grab his shoulder, turning him around. Uzumaki. What the hell was that? You attacked the other players, now you just destroyed school property. Said the teacher, glaring at the whiskered blonde, only for Naruto to return the glare. Oh, now you want to do something. What about earlier when they were doing the same to me, shoving me around, knocking me to the ground, including my own teammates? Naruto retorted, with the teacher pointing at him warningly. Watch it, boy, watch it. You're already in trouble for what you did yesterday, now it's going to be even worse. The teacher said, making Naruto scoff and shove his hand off. You mean when I finally defended myself for once rather than be a punching bag, well, you and every other teacher here did nothing about it. I'm not even the only one. How many other kids have been bullied by those losers because no one did anything to stop it, but now when I stand up for myself, now you're doing something. You want to punish me, then why don't you do the same to them? Said Naruto, pointing at Hibachi and the rest of the players that had been knocking him around. That's enough out of you, boy. The principal's office now. Let's see if you have that smart mouth after a month of detention. The teacher said, reaching the grab and dragged Naruto to the principal. Only for Naruto to quickly move back before he could grab him, while picking up the basketball as he did so. How about instead take your own advice, asshole? Naruto said before bouncing the ball on the ground as hard as he could. With it bouncing right back up and slammed itself directly into the teacher's balls, causing him to fall to his knees, wheezing his pain and holding his crotch. The ball rolled back towards Naruto, who stopped it with his foot, smirking tauntingly at the teacher. I'd say keep your own eye on the balls, but I think you'll need some replacements. Said Naruto before looking around at the shocked students and faculty that had entered the gym after hearing the shouting. Seeing how now all the students were looking at him in fear and wariness, including Hibachi and his lackeys. With Naruto feeling a dark joy after they recoiled when he kicked the ball at them, pleased that now they're the ones who are scared. Putting his hands in his pocket, Naruto scoffed as he left the gym, going to his locker where he grabbed his stuff and left. Though when he was outside, Naruto paused for a moment when he saw Madara and Sora standing outside, with the older boy smirking as he held out his hand. Told you? Madara said as Sora grumbled and handed over $20. What are you two doing here? Questioned Naruto while looking between them. The same as you, ditching to go have some real fun. Sora replied, with Naruto nodding slowly. And why did you give him money? Naruto asked, wondering what that was about. I bet that you'd be leaving too, which is why we're still here rather than simply leaving. I bet you'd leave before lunch, Sora bet after. And it looks like I was right. Madara replied, making the Uzumaki frown. How'd you know I'd leave at all? Said Naruto, only for Madara to merely smirk and pat him on the back. Because, I had a good feeling about you. After yesterday, I knew something else would happen, since that brat's like the ones in there, they never really learn their lesson. Not unless you give them something to be scared of. And from how you looked coming out, I'd say they're pretty scared. Said Madara, making Naruto look between them. They ganged up on me during a game of basketball, getting some of my own teammates to help them. When I pushed back I knocked them around, and when the teacher finally got involved I threw the ball into his balls. Naruto said, making their eyes widen before they began laughing. Ha 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 ha. Now that's worth $20, I only regret we weren't there to see it happen. Said Sora, not expecting him to go that far. I knew I was right about you. You're gonna fit in just fine where we're going. Madara said, confusing Naruto, but he also looked intrigued. And where is that exactly? Naruto now interested in what they had to offer. Just follow us, but trust me, you'll love it. You're gonna see what some real fun is like. Said Madara, smirking as he and Sora left with Naruto following after them. Later. Followed Madara and Sora through the city, Naruto soon saw they arrived in one of the seedier parts of the city as he saw some rundown buildings. As well as several people who were looking at them with less than kind intentions. With Naruto rubbing his head as the tingling sensation was basically screaming danger at him now, but he pushed it aside. Though he was curious when he saw the people immediately look away when Sora held up his hand with his bracelet and Madara moved his bang out of the way before putting it back. Are you sure it's safe to be here? Naruto asked, only for the boys to smirk. Perfectly fine, anyone dumb enough to try attacking us will learn quickly what a stupid idea it was. While everyone that lives around here are smart enough to stay out of our way. Madara said, smirking confidently, while Naruto raised a brow. What, are they scared of you too? Said Naruto doubtfully. Not us, personally. Let's just say we have dangerous friends no one wants to go against. Said Sora, with this only increasing Naruto's curiosity as they kept walking. It wasn't long before they arrived at an abandoned warehouse surrounded by trees, but the closer they got Naruto realized it wasn't abandoned as he could hear loud music playing inside. What is this place? Naruto asked as walked through an open gate. This is the Purple Dragon Gang's hideout. Madara revealed as he opened the door, letting them hear the blaring music as they walked inside. Naruto's eyes widened in surprise as they entered, finding the entire place was filled with boys and girls of different ages, but the majority of them were teenagers. And they were all either playing arcade games, sitting at game tables, playing pool, reading comics or were on skateboard ramps. There was also a DJ table where the music was playing and some teens were dancing. Along with some spray painting the walls, with several shaped purple dragon insignias covering them. Some other things he noticed was that nearly everyone also seemed to either have a purple dragon tattoo or it was on their clothing. Check it out man, anything you want, we got it. Anything you want to do it. Know what I'm saying, anything. Madara said as Naruto looked around. What exactly is the purple dragons? Questioned Naruto while turning back to them. It's a gang, if you can't tell, and nobody messes with them. Well, no one with half a brain anyway. But for those too stupid to stay out of our way they don't get a chance to try again. Said Sora with a smirk. But for those smart enough to join, they get to enjoy the benefits of being able to do whatever they want, whenever they want. Stick with us and you'll be getting the chance to really live and have fun. Said Madara while holding his arms out. Well, what are you waiting for, an invitation? Go nuts. Madara said, making Naruto grin as he looked around to see where he should start. Playing some of the arcade games first, Naruto also played against some of the other teens in some fighting games like Street Fighters, Mortal Kombat and King of Fighters. Before he then went to the game tables where poker was being played. With him surprising everyone with his luck at winning, despite having never played before. After winning a decent amount of money, Naruto went and began reading some comic books, interested to see if he could find any characters with powers similar to his. Knowing it wouldn't hurt to try and get inspiration or see if he could figure out what else he could do. I was bit by a spider, I could try looking up information about spiders to see what different breeds can do. Naruto thought while flipping through a comic while also checking out some manga and manhwa that they had in the mix as well, until he saw Madara and Sora approaching him. Hey. There's something else we think you like to see, come on. Sora said, motioning him to follow them. What is it? Questioned Naruto, wondering what else there is to see here. Just get up and come with us. Said Madara, with Naruto rolling his eyes but got up, curious of what exactly it was. Following the two to the back of the warehouse, they soon entered a makeshift gym, with there being several sparring matches going on between Purple Dragon members, both in armed and unarmed combat. The whiskered blonde watched the matches in intrigue, wondering how he'd match up against them with his powers. He also noticed an elevated stage with a couch on it, where he could see a really large man sitting on it, flanked by two other guys. Though he couldn't see them clearly with the low lighting in the area, but could only guess the big guy was a leader in the Purple Dragons. Before he saw one of the matches come to an end, giving Naruto the chance to step forward, wanting his own turn in the ring. Think you can take me on? Naruto asked, smirking at his opponent, an older boy who scoffed. I think I should be asking that shrimp. Isn't it past your bedtime or something? Said the boy mockingly, with Naruto's smirk not wavering. Well, one of us will be going nighty-night. I'll even make sure someone tucks you in once I'm done. Naruto said, getting a few oohs from the crowd. Okay, just remember you asked for it, runt. The boy said, raising his fists while Naruto was given a pair of sparring gloves. Once the bell rang, the boy instantly charged at Naruto, spinning around to deliver a kick to his head, only for Naruto to jump over. Flipping through the air as he landed behind the boy before punching him right in the back. While surprised at the unexpected display, the boy quickly recovered and charged Naruto again while his back was turned. Throwing a punch at his head, which Naruto dodged without looking, along with dodging the following punch as well. Before the boy moved back and threw his leg out to slam his foot into Naruto's back, with a whiskered blonde immediately turning and grabbing his ankle. Then before the boy could react, Naruto knocked him off balance, sending him to the floor. Naruto then finished it by slamming his fist into the boy's face, knocking him out. Next. Naruto said, looking around to see who'll fight him next, while the crowd was stunned out how quickly he ended the fight and didn't get hit. Until some came out of their shock as two stepped forward, pulling the unconscious boy out of the ring as another opponent, one older than the first, stepped into the ring. Let's see how you handle a real challenge, kid. Said the boy while putting his gloves on. I'll let you know if I get one. Naruto taunted as the bell rang, and the boy quickly lunged at him with a right hook. As the fight began, the Purple Dragon leader leaned forward in his seat, now feeling intrigued for once at what he's seeing. Later. Come on. I was hoping for a challenge, instead I'm fighting a bunch of preschoolers. Said Naruto as his last two opponents were pulled out of the ring. After taking out several older and more experienced members, some of them began challenging him to 2-on-1 matches, something Naruto was eager for. Hoping the greater numbers would give him a challenge, only for them all to still be taken down as well. Though there were a few close calls as the older and more skilled members began entering the ring, they fell like all the others. All the while Naruto didn't have a mark on him, having managed to avoid all the attacks thanks to the tingle in the back of his head. "Kid's got some skill," said one of the guys with the leader, only for the leader to grunt. "He's got luck and talent, not skill. But he does have potential," the leader admitted, seeing Naruto had potential with the right training. "Come on, is no one else gonna try? I mean, you'll fail, but you never know, maybe you last long enough to make me try a little," said Naruto, looking around, seeing no one was eager to get taken down by a kid younger than them like the rest. "He just needs someone to pop that ego. Johnny, go show him how it's done," ordered the leader, looking to the guy on his right, making him smirk while cracking his knuckles. "Gladly," said Johnny as he stepped to the stage to enter the ring. "Well, is anyone gonna try or should I go find a real challenger?" Naruto asked when he saw no one was stepping forward. "Why don't you try me on for size, boy?" said Johnny, getting Naruto's attention as he turned to see who it was. But Johnny, being a young adult with pale skin, dyed blue hair that stuck out to the sides with two long strands hanging over his shoulders and black eyes. His attire consisted of a black guy-like tank top, black pants, maroon ankle boots, a maroon belt with a silver buckle, dog tags around his neck, maroon fingerless gloves, and a maroon trench coat with yellow sleeves and purple dragons on them. "And you are?" Naruto asked with a raised brow as Johnny popped his neck and shoulders. "John, or Johnny as everyone knows me here. And I'm one of the Purple Dragon sub-leaders. In other words, this'll be over quickly," said John with a smirk. The crowd began muttering amongst themselves in surprise at seeing Johnny stepping forward, not expecting one of the sub-leaders to enter the ring. While Naruto didn't look concerned and even smirked eagerly. "Yeah, it'll end quickly. But don't worry, you won't be the first guy I've knocked out today, just the oldest," Naruto said, only for John to chuckle lowly. "Say that again after you're on the ground," said John as the bell was rung. Rather than wait for his opponent to attack first, Naruto took the initiative and charged at John, confident after all his other wins that this'll be easy enough for him. Jumping up, Naruto threw a punch at John's head, which he blocked with only a slight flinch at the strength behind it. Before the blue-haired man retaliated with his own punch, only for Naruto to grab his fist and flip in the air to get behind him. But before he could attack, the tingle flared, forcing Naruto to jump back as John kicked his leg back at him. With Naruto's eyes widening in surprise when John dropped to a crouch and shot forward at him much faster than his previous opponents. As the Uzumaki only had a moment to raise his arms, blocking a spin kick to his face, grunting slightly at the surprising strength. Only for the tingle to warn him of danger again, but before he could avoid it, Naruto gasped as John just as quickly spun the other way, slamming his other leg into his back. Knocking the Uzumaki across the ring, though he quickly recovered and got back up to his feet. Narrowing his eyes at actually getting hit, Naruto rushed at John again, going faster than before as he threw a punch at the man. Only for the sub-leader to raise his arm blocking it, though did grunt at the greater strength behind the punch. With Naruto quickly jumping into the air to slam his foot into John's head, only to be surprised when John grabbed his ankle. "Try dodging now," John said, smirking as he yanked Naruto close, burying his fist in his face. Luckily Naruto was able to move fast enough, raising his arm blocking the punch before retaliating, and managed to punch John right across his face. Before gagging when rather than let go of him, John immediately slammed his knee into the Uzumaki's stomach. Following it by slamming his elbow down onto his back, sending Naruto crashing into the ground. Grunting as he hit the ground, the tingling warned him of danger again, with Naruto quickly rolling out of the way, avoiding John stomping down on where he'd been. Jumping back up to his feet, Naruto ducked under a spin kick from the blue-haired man, before he then shot up to deliver an uppercut. Only for John to knock his fist away and slam his shoulder into the whiskered blonde. Hitting the ground again, Naruto got back up only to see John rushing at him, the tingling warning him once more, allowing Naruto to dodge the incoming punch. Along with jumping to avoid the sweeping kick that followed it. But when he went to block the second punch from John, Naruto wasn't prepared as he smashed his knee into his stomach again. Making the Uzumaki gag as the air was knocked out of him, before grunting in pain as John finished it with an uppercut, knocking him up into the air. Feeling the tingle again, Naruto tried to avoid the coming attack, but was helpless as John delivering a spin kick that sent Naruto crashing into a weapons rack. "So, you done, or are you still eager for more?" John asked while punching his palm as Naruto groaned as he tried getting up, stumbling back into the ring only to fall to his hands and knees. "Yeah, you're done," stated John, smirking, making Naruto grit his teeth as he tried getting back up. No, I can't still fight," Naruto said, trying to get back up, only to stumble again. "No, you can't," the leader stated, causing the crowd to clear a path as he and the other man stepped forward, with Naruto looking at them. The second man had fair skin, a bald head aside from a green ponytail in the back, a green soul patch on his chin, along with surprising black and red eyes. He also had a purple dragon tattoo on his face and neck. With him wearing a black tank top, a grey vest with red lines on it, black and red camo pants held up by a black belt with a large metal buckle with 4 spikes on it, black boots with grey straps, black fingerless gloves with spikes on the knuckles and grey spikes bracers on his wrist. While the leader, Naruto, saw that while he was taller than everyone even when sitting down, when standing at his full height he made everyone seem like children in comparison. Having fair skin, long blonde hair held in a braid hanging over his shoulder, black eyes, and looked strong enough to rip a tree out of the ground and snap it in half with his bare hands. He also had a purple dragon tattoo coiled around his left arm, along with a red claw-like tattoo on his right shoulder. With him wearing more basic clothes consisting of a black guy-like tank top, black pants, a brown belt and grey dress shoes. Shit. Naruto thought, craning his neck to look up at the leader, not believing anyone could be that tall or huge. You've got talent, kid, you're stronger and faster than one would expect, and you've got good instincts to predict when an attack's coming at you. But it doesn't matter how strong or fast you are if you're facing a more skilled opponent. And having an ego will only get you killed faster. Said the leader with a surprisingly pipitical look in his eyes, despite looking like the picture-perfect muscle-headed brute. Thank you Naruto said, feeling nervous to be in front of someone he's pretty sure is likely stronger than him. Hun, leader of the purple dragons. These are John and Dragon Face, my right-hand men. And you've got a talent we could use. We just need to actually get you trained up to use it, and luckily for you I think you're good enough to train with the best the purple dragons have to offer. Hun said while knowing if this kid could prove himself, he's sure even his master would be interested in recruiting him. Really said Naruto in disbelief, with the rest of the crowd being shocked at Hun offering that kind of training to a new recruit. Yes. Go get yourself cleaned up, then come back here tonight and we'll see if you've got what it takes. Said Hun, with Naruto nodding rapidly, eager for the chance to get some actual training to better use his powers and fighting skills. Later. After taking some time to rest from his fight with John, Naruto made his way back home to get ready for the training he'll have tonight with the purple dragon leaders. With it taking some time for him to find his way back home, mentally noting he'll need to familiarize himself with the route to avoid getting lost. But had soon managed to arrive back just as it was getting dark, only to come face to face with his grandparents, neither of whom looked the least bit happy. I take it you got another call. Naruto stated, having already expected it. Yeah, we did. And I guess you promising to not let anything happen didn't last, because congrats, you don't have detention anymore, you were expelled. Jiraiya said, narrowing his eyes at his grandson, while Naruto simply hummed in thought. I guess I'll have a lot of free time then. Said Naruto shrugging, causing Tsunade to shoot up from her seat. Like hell you will. You not only attacked more kids over a game, you destroyed school property and then assaulted a teacher. You should be lucky charges aren't being pressed. So don't even think about acting like that. Tsunade said loudly. Yeah, kids that were ganging up on me because some losers didn't get the message yesterday they should leave me alone, I just gave a more permanent reminder. And the teacher had it coming when he didn't do anything about it, but apparently I'm the bad guy for refusing to be a doormat. Naruto said, much to their disbelief at how he's acting. It was just a game. Self-defense against bullying is one thing, but doing that over a game is going way too far. And then attacking the teacher the way you did, that was completely uncalled for. Yes, he should have stepped in if the others were ganging up on you, but that's not an excuse to assault someone. Said Jiraiya, wondering what happened for him to immediately ignore what they asked him to do yesterday and do a complete 180. Well, maybe they should have done something for once. Naruto retorted, surprising them at the sudden outburst. That's not even the first time those sorry excuse for teachers did nothing when they've seen me being pushed around and treated like a doormat. But suddenly when I'm finally standing up for myself, I'm the one who gets in trouble. If you want me to say sorry, I'm sorry I didn't do something sooner to those assholes. After everything done to me, I'd say it's fair that now I get to give some of it back. Said Naruto, with his grandparents looking at him with wide eyes. Go to your room, now. We'll be talking about this tomorrow. Tsunade said, pointing up the stairs, only for Naruto to scoff. Whatever, you two aren't any different. Only doing something if I'm the one being blamed. Naruto said spitefully before storming up the stairs to his room, slamming and locking the door behind him. But rather than stay there, Naruto grabbed some stuff and arranged it on his bed to make it look like he was sleeping. Before opening his window and looked around to make sure no one was watching, as he then crawled out along the wall to the ground. With the whiskered blonde making his way back to the purple dragon's hideout to begin his combat training. So this part ends here. Alright, that's it for today's video guys. Let me know in the comments section how was the story, and also don't forget to like, share and subscribe. I will meet you in another video, bye bye.